World War One, the Great War, the war to end all wars, one of the biggest wars in human history, the worldwide event that pushed humanity into the era of modern warfare. Empires fell, countries and dictatorships rose, but all that led to a pretty awesome battlefield game. So that was good. Battlefield 1 takes place during the First World War, but during that time people didn't know a sequel was coming, courtesy of a short and angry mustache man. So they simply called it the Great War. Battlefield 1 captures the essence and environment of a true World War I battlefield masterfully. From the trenches to no man's land, to forests, to deserts, whenever you are in a match, you can start role-playing as an actual soldier of the British or the French army. And the environment will help you to immerse into the experience. The environment itself also tells a story. The story of a hard-fought battle in the muddy trenches, and how the soldiers have been living for the past few months, fighting hard to gain a single inch of land, or how peaceful and beautiful this town used to be before it was struck by the horrors of war. This kind of environmental storytelling does not come easy. It takes a lot of experience and talent to tell a compelling story just with the environment. Artists at DICE has definitely nailed it. And the decision to focus on World War I think it works in their favor. World War I is often overlooked in media. We have so many World War II games and movies. World War I does not get enough recognition. It was an event that was just as important, if not more important, than World War II. So having a game set in a war that is not very well known, at least among the younger audiences, was a risky move. But they handled it very well. So it works in their advantage. There is so much I did not know about World War I before playing this game. I learned a lot just by playing. I learned a lot about the battles, the empires and the countries just by playing. The game mode operations is a very good source for this actually. You get a short intro to what your side is fighting for at the start of every match.
Gestern habe ich ihn gesehen, diesen Artillerieoffizier, den Sie Durchbruchmüller nennen. Er ist hier, um die Sinfonie unserer 10.000 Geschütze zu dirigieren, die in nur 5 Stunden 3 Millionen Granaten abfeuern. Über die feindlichen Linien fegt eine Wolke aus Flammen und Asche hinweg. So muss das Ende der Welt aussehen. Mir tun die armen Tommys in ihren Gräben beinahe leid, wie sie versuchen, das alles zu verstehen.
And at the end of the match, if the outcome is historically inaccurate, then the announcer will remind you that if X had happened, A would have lost this much ground and eventually lost the war.
This triumph will be a turning point. Imperial forces all over Europe will hear of our victory and shout out the name of the Emperor. We are an inspiration, brothers. This is an historic day.
One can only speculate what an Austro-Hungarian victory would have meant for the future of Europe. It is possible success could have united the crumbling empire, allowing the Habsburgs to keep control of their countries, races and ethnicities for at least a few months longer.
This way you also get to know the significance of each battle. Immersion is something that is not easy to get right. You can have the most realistic graphics, the most realistic movements and mechanics, and yet it would still feel like a game. I don't know what exactly it is, but Battlefield makes me feel super immersed into the world. Never before have I been so hyped to actually charge up a hill and take control of that point with other soldiers running beside me, ready to give their life for their empire or country. Every time you manage to succeed, you get this feeling of joy. If you lose, you feel like you have let your commanders and your fellow soldiers down. That is what a good immersive experience should bring. Sure, it has goofy moments too, and I love them as well. But I have to say, it is the best World War I soldier simulator I have ever played.
We are losing objective butter.
Positions under attack! Push those bastards back!
If you had to explain someone the gameplay of Battlefield, it is very simple. Two teams with a huge number of players who have to capture and hold a number of points on a huge map to deplete the other team's lives, or in Battlefield 1's case, increase its own score to win the game as the timer runs down. It's a very simple and tried and tested formula that works for the franchise. It's pretty much the basis of all Battlefield games. The one thing that sets each game in the franchise apart is the time period it is set in. As I mentioned earlier, Battlefield 1 set in World War I gives it a feeling of something new, like something we haven't seen before. The game offers the player a huge variety of playstyles. From the assault class that is good for more explosive playstyles, to medics that aim to help the fallen soldiers on the field, to scouts and support. Every class is unique and adds something special and beneficial to the team. And every team has its own subsections called squads. This was a new concept for me. At first I thought so your squad members are just mobile spawn points. But no, it's much more than that. A squad that utilizes the specialities of each class effectively can absolutely dominate on the battlefield. They can take control points, defend control points, or even push off enemy attacks. Battlefield offers such a variety of playstyles that there is something for everybody. Aside from the classes, there are planes, tanks, horses, big badass war machines called dreadnoughts that are given to the losing team to give them a fighting chance. Horses are fast and hard to hit. Tanks are durable and can shred a group of soldiers apart. Planes are fast and high up, so they cannot be shot down easily. Dreadnoughts are massive war machines that take the whole team's effort to destroy them. And if you don't destroy them, they can help the losing team come back. There is honestly so much variety that I can never possibly list everything. But the one thing is, Battlefield 1 emphasizes team play a lot. There is no single war hero guy who can carry the whole team on their back. It takes the entire team's effort to dominate the battlefield, or to come back from an almost wipe out, all hope lost scenario. And that is what I love to see from a game. Every weapon in the game is so satisfying. From the starting SMGs, to snipers, to rifles, every weapon has a punch to it and is specifically set to work in different scenarios. No weapon is absolutely perfect that can handle every situation, because then it can throw the balance of the game off. You need to pick your battles. Sometimes you want to go through the side and flank the enemy team, but you're carrying a shotgun and there's a vast empty field in the way. So if you encounter an enemy, you might be outgunned. Similarly, in urban areas, sure, snipers have plenty of high ground and sniping positions, but in close range combats, they're pretty much at a disadvantage. But that doesn't mean weapons are weak. When used appropriately, they can destroy the enemy player. You just have to find the right weapon that suits your playstyle. For example, I love flanking the enemy, going behind and absolutely wreck them, and force close range fights. That's why I prefer to have a shotgun, because it absolutely shreds at close range. While at medium and long ranges, it does the damage equivalent of stepping on a Lego. What makes Battlefield 1 unique is its lack of customization. Yes, lack of customization. The lack of customizations on weapons is what I like about the guns. In a time where you can have almost 50 different add-ons on SMGs to make it just a little more better, Battlefield 1 brings you a very few number of options to choose from. Those two don't really affect the weapon that much, just the way you play with them. Sure, there are a number of options and variants of the same weapon with slightly different stats, which is fine. But you are pretty much locked with those stats, so you have to keep your playstyle in mind while choosing a weapon. This lack of customization keeps the weapons in check, and keeps the balance of the battle from leaning towards one team or leaning towards just one player. Now that we are on the subject, let's talk about progression. I love that there are no loot boxes that lock certain weapons away. Every weapon can be unlocked purely by gameplay, which is how it should be. Some can be bought with in-game currency that you get plenty of through gameplay, or you can just complete challenges to unlock them, which includes getting X number of kills with certain weapons, which also makes you experiment with other weapons that you otherwise might not pick up. Now there are some loot boxes in the game, but they are all just cosmetics, so I don't really care about that. The movement both on foot and in vehicles is very good as well, which is not surprising since it's a AAA game with a massive budget and a very experienced team behind it. I don't have much to say about movement, it is good and it works perfectly. There are obviously other game modes aside from Conquest. My favorite is Operations, which is a massive multi-part battle scenario where one team has to defend the sectors and the other team tries to take control before the attacking team loses all their lives. Aside from the massive battles, there is also Rush and Team Deathmatch, but those are really side game modes and they are a good change of pace from the massive battles, but they are just that, side game modes. If you love them, then there is no judgment from me. I just play them to complete objectives or just to warm up before a match.